myself out.
I am afraid of...
I'm terrified and paralyzed by...
I am deathly afraid of...
Welcome to the Sum of All Fears podcast with your host, me, Ryan Perrio. Hello and welcome to the Sum of All Fears podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Perrio. This week, my guest is comedian Zac Webb. Zac Webb is a regular opener here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, as well as other clubs across the country. We actually just worked last night together with Jared Freed at Hyenas in Dallas. It was a fun night. Zac is an amazing opening act. He's very absurdist. He's very funny. He's super funny and an all-around nice guy. And we did a road gig, and he mentioned that he had an interesting fear of being eaten alive. So in this episode, we discuss his comedy, and then we get into his fear of being eaten alive. So let's get into that interview with Zac Webb. All right, my guest this week, just fresh off his weekend at Hyenas with Sean Kent and Linda Stockner, it is comedian Zac Webb. Zac,
hello.
How you doing today, Zac?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I just had some great breakfast, even though it's 1 o'clock, and starting the day off right.
That sounds like every road comic. I just had breakfast at 1 in the afternoon. Everybody else is halfway through their day. I'm just beginning mine.
Yep. Yeah, just, recovering from the weekends, just dealing with all the highs and the lows.
So how long have you been doing comedy, Zac?
I've been doing stand-up for about 3 years.
Okay.
Just came up on my third year, and it's been really fun. Someone asked me about it recently because they were like, "Oh, stand-up, that must be really rough," and I was just like, "Yeah, well, like there's some highs and lows, but like it's never a dull moment, like there's always just something interesting that's happening, whether it's like ridiculous, and I just love kind of recognizing the absurdity of a lot of situations, even if it's like, oh, chaos and just horrible, it's just like, it's more interesting than me being on the couch.
Yeah, we were discussing that because I was at Comedy Arena this weekend, and so I was there with Mallory and Steven, and we're just kind of commenting on certain things that like we just have, questions about, and discussing and just getting, Mallory her first hosting just to kind of break that seal of hosting, and
right.
And realizing that it's way more difficult than it feels like it is. Like, it's like, oh, I've got this. And then it's like in the moment, though, it's like you just, for some reason, your brain just can't hold just basic information.
Yeah, no, it's very true. There are moments where I'm doing I'm bringing up the feature or the headliner, and I know their credits. Like I've practiced them in my head, like I know them, but like I will blank like as I'm like saying it. You can't really tell like I'm like pushing through it, but it's still my mind is just like forming those thoughts again. Like it's very weird. You feel very like kind of like disassociative sometimes.
Yeah. I had that issue. I was telling her because last week I was hosting at the Addison Improv for Jackie Fabulous, and she went on the Tonight Show, and I kept wanting to say Jimmy Fallon, but all that would come to mind is Jimmy Kimmel, and I'm like, God damn it! How can you people like have so many different people with the same name? And,
yeah.
And she was like, and then I by that time, like, okay, it's the Tonight Show. Then I'm like, oh shit, what's her name? And it just took me like an extra beat to say Jackie Fabulous, and it was like I didn't mess it up at all. I didn't not remember. I did remember her name for a brief moment, but I never just gave up on the intro.
Well, and I also feel like in your head, it feels so much longer than it actually is, like, as you're saying it. Like that extra beat in your head feels like a full minute, but really it's like 2 seconds. I had a kind of similar thing this weekend where, I opened for Sean Kent, and he was on a Last Comic Standing, but in my head, I kept being like, last man standing with Tim Allen.
I will be the last man standing. But so part of me wishes I did video record myself hosting. Just I want to see what the sheer panic of my face when that, because it's definitely uncomfortable, because it's like I know I'm making the audience uncomfortable, like I'm doing all of this shit, and I'm like, just fucking say Jackie Fabulous if anything else. Why are we? And it was a fun weekend. Like I enjoyed that, but it's definitely like it just never. That's what I told Mallory too. Is like there's always going to be little hiccups and stuff. It's never perfect. Like Parker was close, but I mean, even he had slip ups from now and again, and it would just be that brief indecision of that. What announcement? What show? Who's all this information that you've got to rapid fire now after your set just hit people with, and then oh shit, next, what's the guy's next name? Okay.
Yeah. Is this guy on HBO or is this guy on Showtime? Like it's just like.
Yeah, I was telling them one of my favorite intro stories was on things on Nate Bargatze's podcast, where somebody was introducing Mark Delvecchio. And the comic blanked on his name, so to try to remember his name, he just kept saying credits. And it was like he was like given this ridiculous amount of credits, like he's been on HBO, Showtime, Comedy Central. He's been in like, it's like, is this Chris Rock coming out here, or is Richard Pryor making a comeback?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You just got you kind of bide that time, I guess, until you can figure it out in your brain. But yeah, it's fun, or I mean not fun, but it's hard sometimes where it's just like so many credits with like hyper specific names.
Yeah.
Like where it's just like it's like this festival they played this number, and then it's like they performed at this comedy club with this person. Like it's like there's just so many things to keep in your brain.
Yeah.
After you just like expelled all of your energy, kind of like doing your set, and then you're just like, mentally, I got to remember the other thing that's way more important than the jokes I just told.
Yeah. David Allen Greer was probably my toughest one, because he's a Tony. He's been nominated for an Oscar, a Grammy, a Tony Award. Like he's got all these like awards, and I'm like, he's like the bridesmaid for like every single major actor achievement award. And you want to say he's won a Grammy or something like that. He's he would just shake it. No, I was just Tony Award nominated, not the winner.
Yeah. Well, I feel like nomination is probably the best like plug or like credit, because it's like you don't want to say like this guy's like the winner of this thing, because then it's like the expectation is just so high. Like I was talking with like Linda, where it's like, I know some people who've won funniest comic in Texas, and they don't want people to know that when they go up on stage, because then the audience goes, well, how funny can they be? Like, now you really got to prove it. You're the funniest. All right. It's like, I'm a big believer of like underselling, over delivering. And I know some people are like that too, but I've always been in fear of just like telling the audience, like giving them too much of an expectation and then having an off day.
I get that, but at the same time, I also think it would be funny if we made like the trophy was like a golden mic stand that you had to take to every open mic, and had like cherubs and and it said like funniest comic in Texas.
Yeah.
Just was this over the top audacious, like, so when you go up at open mic, you have to use this gold mic stand.
Yeah, they have open micers just throwing flower petals as you're walking to the stage.
Just to make it hilarious.
Yeah. Like the person who got second would be like a herald, just announcing you walk in.
Yeah. Like the runner-up just has to enter you every time. Like he has to go on stage and bring up the funniest comic in Texas just to add salt in the wound. That's your reward as the runner-up, is you have to just go to every open mic the winner's at, even for like 10 seconds, and just bring them up.
Yeah, I lost to this guy. Oh yeah.
So what has
That'd be tough.
So as comedy-wise, what has been like? What was like your toughest I would say, like, show or, I guess, situation you've ever faced in comedy? Like, what was your...
Oh man. So this one actually happened recently. I got to do this show at a tattoo convention.
Okay.
Like an afternoon, and the person who booked it, as we're walking in, this is like the third day of them doing comedy. As we're walking in, he gets a text saying, "Oh, they really hate the comedy." Like, like he's getting a text from the promoter. He's like, "Oh, they really do not like the stand-up comedy." And then when we walk in there, I see why, because it's this big convention room. And then they put the stage in the middle of the convention room. Like we thought it was going to be a separate like room or something else where people can just walk in and out. No, it's in the middle of the convention center, and it's a tattoo convention. So all these people are getting tattooed around us. So you just hear the everywhere you go. Meanwhile, every pop punk song from the 2000s is just blaring through the speaker. The stage is in the middle of the convention room. It's it's like a cross stage, and with seats all the way around it. So it's like this weird 360 thing, and people are sitting there. But the reason they're sitting there is because the concessions is right next to it. So people are just eating their food. And so we get there, they're just like, "Hey, they really don't like the comedy." And we're like, "Well, that's great. And that's always good to know when you're walking in." I'm going up first. And I was hoping that there would be like a separate PA system, for like just that little area. Nope, you're just announcing it into the microphone that they do the announcements for all of the tattoo convention announcements. So I'm just listening to myself in this huge room with a couple of people looking at me like they don't know what the hell's happening, and they really do not like any of this. And like, I don't know where to look or like to find my people, because I'm constantly showing my back to somebody, because so I just had to find one nice woman who thought I was a little funny and just keep making eye contact with her until this whole thing was over.
But I just feel like people getting tattoos, you don't want them to laugh while you're trying to give them...
Right. And then my buddy was just trying to tell me, "Oh, Zach, you should get a tattoo." And then after my set, I was like, I don't want anybody here to stab me more than they already want to.
They already have with their eyes. Like,
yeah, exactly.
With their
and I would pay for
stares.
that. Yeah. But it was just so awkward. And then part of me, because I worked clean and stuff like that, and I just gotten back from doing some clean shows and stuff. But for this one, I was thinking, oh, tattoo convention, I can be a little raunchier. I can do some dirtier jokes or whatever. And I'm just walking around. I'm seeing family after family at this thing, and I'm just oh no, and I'm in the speaker too. But it was a bad show, but it was a fun time just because it's I got to hang out with a lot of other comedians, and we all just went up there and ate shit. But there's that camaraderie to it, we all just ate shit and then went to On the Border afterwards.
So it's like the Bill Burr Philadelphia story where everybody just going through. Did anybody just have a meltdown on stage?
No, because I think all of us kind of nobody had a personal screw this crowd, they're just being so awful. It's just no, they don't want us here. We're just gonna do our time and just get out as soon as possible. But I mean, most of the comedy for us was just doing our set and looking over at the other comedians, just looking at in laughter and in horror because they're up next. You know?
Trying to figure out what they're gonna do.
Yeah, exactly.
To win this crowd over.
And it's I'm watching some people do crowd work, but then it's really hard for crowd work because they're talking, but you're on a microphone that's going out through the entire convention center. So it just seems like someone hooked up their Bluetooth speaker to their phone. It's oh, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's nice.
They don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, exactly.
Just follow the sound of faux confidence over the loudspeaker. Make your way to the center. to the heart that's slowly dying.
Yeah. But I mean, like I've definitely had like other like worse sets, but like that one was definitely just like the one that like kind of stung. And then like literally after I left the show, I went to my car and someone had rear-ended me and like hit and run me, and so I was just like, all right, cool. This is a nice way to punctuate this experience. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, luckily it wasn't like too bad a damage. It was just like a dent in my car. But I was just like, yep. I hope that they knew that was my car.
They hope it was you hope it wasn't that lady that was kind of finding you funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah.
That is awesome. You're a solid opener. You're one of the up and coming comics here in the Dallas comedy scene. So
thank you, man.
Everybody, has rave reviews about you, and Mallory apparently said when you were in Dallas last week, she asked you for advice, and you said sometimes you just fall on the grenades.
Yep. Yep. I think it's a lot of like opening is just like you're just there to break the ice. You got to warm the people up, and sometimes you can do that in different ways. Like I've seen people like before I started opening, I would watch people like open, and like I remember just seeing people use like shock, not like dirty material, but just saying something that's like a little bit kind of weird, just and like people would react not necessarily with like a laugh, but like a ooh or like
yeah.
And like I realized like that is also a response. The goal is to get it as a conversation, call and response, and sometimes that doesn't mean like, oh, this one joke that just made everyone laugh and go crazy, but sometimes that just means like I'm just saying something to get a reaction out of you. I'm mentioning the servers and the bartenders who are doing a great job, like, hey, give it up for them. That's another call and response, you know. But yeah, it's a lot of times you're just digging a hole for the next guy to come in and fill with laughter.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people. I was like, is everybody else has a good show, after you, that's your job. Unfortunately, you're not there to also achieve glory. Yes, it's nice to get that, that added confidence bump and validation for your work. But some days it is just, well, this is going to be.
Yeah.
Thankfully, this is only the only time you'll have to see me for an extended period. I will.
Yeah. It's kind of like if you asked out a pretty girl and she said no, you can't just immediately just like lose your shit. Like if someone doesn't find your joke funny, you can't just be like, well, fuck you guys. It's like you just gotta be like, oh, okay, thank you. Like I'm not your type, but that's okay, and just kind of keep the energy going for the next person who's gonna come in and ask the pretty lady out. But yeah, it's definitely it's a fun job. It's one of the few jobs I've had where I can drink dirty. And I like that a lot.
And so my show on Friday, there was like 12 women, and they were all wearing cowboy hats. Like they look like they were like they all look like 80s women's from 80s countries band. Like they had like the boots, like the low dress, and the cowboy hats. And during Mallory and Steve's set, they were like covering their ears like during their material, like it was too much for
my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's so awful.
And it was just so funny because I wasn't out there. I watched Mallory, but I wasn't out there for Stevens. And Steven has his joke about shy pooping. And I was just like, I wanted to know what those ladies' looks on their face were as he just goes to this 10-minute rampage about not being able to use the bathroom in public. Like, most notably when he says, like, the can of chunky soup. I was like, were they praying for you at that point? Were they just, like, praying for your soul? It's hard to laugh and pray for someone's soul at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what I told him. But that was pretty humorous. I would say my craziest show is I was opening for a corporate show with Todd Justice, and it was like this Sonic franchise, and we were doing it in Norman, Oklahoma,
Mhm.
So we were driving to this Embassy Suites, and we get into there, and I was like, sitting there, like I had just come up with the Denny's gift card kind of thing, and I was like, it's not dirty, but it's not, it's not something. It's kind of cloudy, but it's not dirty by any means. It's just kind of, and I'm like, maybe,
Got a layer.
and I looked at Todd, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I could do that joke tonight. Like, I feel like I could do this. It's a bunch of rich old white people. Like, they might find it funny. And then before we go to the stage, they bring up a big screen TV, and we have to sing the national anthem.
Oh, no.
And then we recited the Pledge of Allegiance. Like we were in an elementary school. Like we had to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I looked at Todd. I was like, never mind. I was like, never mind.
Yep.
And to Todd's credit, he got a full room standing ovation for his set. Like he
wow.
got a full room standing ovation, and his camera died 5 minutes before that.
Oh my gosh.
So he was videoing it, and he comes back and he looks at his camera and it's off. And I was like, there's no way I could have saved this. It's like, this is a just serendipity of knowing that you'll any success you have is just between you, me, and this crowd. No one else will ever. And so I will tell people, I was like, he's gotten a full room. I was like, everybody has their audience. And Todd Justice, just that night was exactly what they wanted. I did okay. It was nothing to write home about. I was fairly well dressed. I had slacks, dress shoes, and shirt, button down. And so I was like, okay, I look like an employee. On a lot of Todd's corporate gigs, we have to dress like kind of quasi corporate, and so
sure.
So that was an interesting, probably my weirdest show. Like I was like, this is the height of conservatism at this point. Like I thought we may have actually even bowed our head in prayer. I can't remember. I just remember the Pledge of Allegiance.
That would have been good. Oh man.
Like we had an invocation before we decided to do the stand-up show.
Yeah, I was like, were they also going to rattle off the other school announcements that they had coming up like in the day? Mm-hmm. What was the lunch special?
It was Sonic, because that was their. That's what they were all franchisees of this, I guess, Oklahoma, Arkansas, like this Bible Belt conservative franchise of Sonic.
Yeah, just sucking on chili dogs.
Mm-hmm. And so, and Todd is always if there's a free meal, let's grab one. And so I was like, I'll pass. I'll just get some waters and call it a day.
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot of like corporate gigs. I know you and I kind of like did a show where it was kind of like for like a fundraiser or something like that. But like I haven't done a lot of corporate gigs. But I every story I've heard is just really bad.
It's really bad, but the money's really good.
That's exactly what I hear. Yeah, and I feel like after like a year of opening, I've gotten used to like, some shows just it ain't it. But if I get paid, like, hey, I'm a professional. You know.
Like that show we did in Midland, I was like, that money for the amount of time we spent on stage for one night, one show. I was like, that's fair.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, and it like to me, it wasn't even like a bad set. Like I've had way worse sets, so I was just like, and I got paid really well for it. All right, this is great.
Yeah, yeah. Like it wasn't tattoo convention money, but
yeah, nobody hit my car after the show. Like it was fine.
Well, I drove, so that would have been.
I know, that would have been even worse. They would have gotten all the way back to Dallas.
And that's your next step, is you want to try to, because your style is to kind of be absurd and to kind of, bring kind of, I would say almost, just kind of match like what's the most absurd outcome to this situation. Yeah. I feel like you almost have like a cross thing where you're just drawing a parallel across from a situation, you have like absurd ideas, and you're like, vacation Bible school.
Yeah. Yeah, I love just being like really silly and weird. Like, I mean, I like, there's so many different like avenues of comedy and just like ways you can do things. But like, for me, I don't like being like, well, this is my opinion about this subject, and then just kind of like doing that. I just like getting real weird with it, you know, and just putting not only my brain in like a weird place, but then bringing other people into it, you know, like just like, hey, like distracting people so much that they forget everything except for the one idea I just floated past them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just about, you know, like what a surreal experience Vacation Bible School is, or talking about bringing a checkbook into a strip club, you know, just like things that just kind of remove like everything else except for this one quirky idea.
Yeah, that is, it's definitely entertaining, and I feel like I try to be personal because I was like, people don't want my opinions. Like, I feel like they're coming here to escape opinions and stuff like that. Like maybe, you know, a slight jab at you know what's going on in the world, or you know ridiculous news stories, but they get enough of that, you know, on late night and everywhere else that you can consume, I guess, entertainment and news.
Yeah.
And so
I had this, I was going to say, I had this one lady last night. I was doing my joke about like depression, and, you know, that takes like just a weird turn, but I do the setup and I go, I suffer through depressive episodes. And this one lady just shouts out, "We all do." And like, I just go, "Oh yeah, that's why you guys came here, to forget about it. My bad." Like, you know, like, but then I went into the joke, but I was just like, yeah, I forgot. That's why we're all here, to forget about everything else.
Touche, ma'am. Touche.
Touche. Yeah.
Yeah, Mallory, where I was kind of spitballing Mallory because she said she was watching the show Manifest, and it's like pretty people problems, like it's shallow and things like that. And I was like, what is the difference between pretty people problems and ugly people problems? Like pretty people problems is like, oh, I don't know which of these outfits I look hotter in. And ugly person problems is I don't know how I'm going to pay for my drinks tonight. Like,
yeah.
Because every like teen drama movie is like this beautiful girl, but they just have her in a messy bun with no makeup and put glasses on her, and now she's the nerd that nobody, no one wants to. And then she just magically, without looking at any makeup tutorials whatsoever, just magically knows how to put on makeup to look like a L'Oreal beauty queen just every night at prom. That one night, just
yeah. It's always that simple for everybody, I guess. You know? Like,
Cinderella syndrome. Like, oh, you just had to doll up and and show up. Okay, show up and glow up.
What was that? Was that the first movie? I mean, like maybe like My Fair Lady and stuff, but like the '90s movie, wasn't that like She's All That?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I was like, that was the first M. Night Shyamalan twist because he wrote that movie. Yeah, she was pretty the whole time. That was the twist. Wow, he's really good, I guess.
I did not know M. Night Shyamalan wrote She's All That.
Yeah.
Here's a bit.
I think you should go back. I think you should go back to that kind of like work, you know, just like go back to just like screw all the crazy, weird, surreal horror movies and just go back to like teen dramas, you know, like I think he could make some more money that way.
The M. Night Shyamalan teen drama.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned something today. Also, like we talk about fears on this podcast, not just comedy and our shortcomings in that area or our horror stories. We have real horror stories that we deal with, like with every day, with phobias and fears. And you have a very, very interesting fear that I learned on the drive home. Go ahead and let, I guess, the listeners know.
Yeah, well, my biggest fear is being eaten alive. I think like I'm not afraid to die necessarily. I think I've got over that hump, but it's just like I think that is the worst way to die because like you have so much time to think about it. You know, like there's so many deaths where it's like like I fell off a roller coaster and just like immediately died. It's like that would suck. But like watching something devour me in front of me. And so I'm just like trying to get away, trying to do anything, but I'm helpless. Like my guts are open. It's just going to town. Like it is horrifying to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where did you think this fear started? Like what moment? I would say like.
So I kind of have a very distinct memory. When I was in middle school, I was flipping around TV and I got on Comedy Central and they were playing Shaun of the Dead. And there's one specific scene in the movie, kind of near the end of the movie, where I think it's Dylan Morgan, I think is his name. He, like, they're all hunkered down in this bar, and he decides something gets really awkward, and he's like, I gotta go, I gotta leave. And he just starts opening the door and removing the barricade from the window. And then these zombies just burst through the window and grab him and just start ripping him open. And you just see all the guts and just all the, and this is a comedy, I didn't understand at the time. This is a comedic film, but just watching them literally tear into his stomach and then like pull out guts after guts as he's just screaming and they're just pulling out body parts. I just had a very visceral reaction like, as a kid. And I was just like, oh, that's a no-no for me. That is not what I want at all.
Yeah. Well, that makes me feel old because that kind of came out right as I started comedy. Like, I feel like that was like 2005, 2006, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so, man.
And so I remember that movie, and it was dumb and funny, and
yeah,
God bless Simon Pegg.
Yeah, I've watched that movie several times since then. It's not anything to do with the movie. I love Edgar Wright. I love all of his movies, especially that one. But like that scene, for whatever reason, just really stuck with me.
Okay.
And then I feel like there's also like some like caveats to the fear, or like I don't know if I'm using that word right, but like there's certain things that would make it even scarier for me.
Okay.
Like one of my favorite films is John Carpenter's The Thing. And I would truly be horrified if I was being eaten by like an alien, because if like I'm eaten by like a bear or something like that, like I kind of like have ideas of what it is. I understand like it's life or whatever, but I'm just being eaten by an alien. I don't know his motive, I don't know if this is for, sustenance, for pleasure. Like I truly don't understand it. And if visually, if it's something, like Cronenberg-esque, like, and it's so much body horror to it, like I'll just feel so out of loss, but yet it's my final moments in life and I'm just confused,
The fact that you want to clear the air before you pass, like,
yeah,
it's a clarification.
Yeah, exactly. If even if someone just shouted out like, "Oh my God," and said the name of the alien, I'd be like, "Oh, thank you," and then I just like die.
Okay. I just you want to die with your questions being answered.
Right, because it's like no one wants to end. Like, have you ever watched a movie that just like kind of ends on like a weird note that's like not like very concrete? It's like you make the ending. It's like I hate those movies. Like, just tell me what happened.
Yeah.
We're at the end of it. Give me all the information.
Yeah, I don't think I could watch The Thing because I think I get emotional whenever animals like die in movies, and I think in that one where they like burn like all the dogs in the kennel or whatever because they think
it's messed up. Well, it's because like one of them, like the movie starts off with the Thing pretending to be a dog. Yeah. And so at one point they're just like they put it in with all the other dogs and it just starts going crazy. But yeah, no, it's definitely a tough watch. But still one of my favorite movies. Still scares me to this day.
Yeah, clearly. So what about the Blob? Like, would the Blob be even more terrifying because you can still see like the consumed it's already had, like still floating in the ectoplasmic ooze?
just digesting. Yeah, that would definitely be on the list. Also, the blob is just so horrifying because you can't get away from it. Like unless you're in an airtight room that's like, but it can get through every crack. It can get through every thing. My mom was actually really afraid of the blob, and she used to tell me about it growing up. So maybe this is all just genetic. But yeah, no, I mean, I feel like if I was being eaten by the blob, I don't know if like the slime would be that bad though. Like maybe it's just like a Nickelodeon's award sort of situation where I just get slimed and then like, I'm dead, but like, it's not that bad. But I just imagine like physically me being ripped apart would definitely be like the worst.
Yeah. I just feel like it would just feel like just the gag of all that goo just like entering every hole in your body.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that would be the worst part. Yeah, just the drowning in it. Yeah, that would definitely so gross. But yeah, I also like I feel like obviously I don't want to be eaten, but like a part of another fear of it is like, what if I taste bad? Like, would that be insulting to me? Like if like someone was just like eating me and then they just get into this Gordon Ramsay rant about how awful I taste and how it's like I have no fat, and I'm like way too lean and I wasn't properly seasoned or something. Yeah.
Or Jack Sprat, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got them confused with Liz Splat. That was my. But Jack Sprat, who ate no fat, and what was the other Gene who ate no lean?
Is that a nursery rhyme?
Yeah, it's like an old nursery rhyme. I just
like it sounded familiar, and then I was like, wait, I don't remember that one as well.
So the fact, like, what? So if you taste about, like, what if someone was devouring you and then they stopped, like halfway, like just like maybe took both legs and was like, and then just.
Yeah, and then just left me there. Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like I would definitely be like insulted, just in a way, because I would be like, you couldn't like first of all, it's kind of like there's no chef to send it back to, like like you made the choice to eat a person. What do you like? Am I not good enough for you? You couldn't like, or would you? Am I your like dessert? Like there once again, so many questions. And that's what would be the worst part of that.
Am I your dessert?
Yeah,
sorry, I'm too filling for you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, too rich and hearty for your delicate taste buds.
Yeah, your cannibalism cuisine. Like I don't. But yeah, I think yeah, if someone just like stopped eating me and then like I don't know, like I think I would also just have more questions like, are they coming back? Like would I be preserved in any way? Like are they like. I feel like at that point, if they were going to eat me later, they would bring me to some sort of like fridge or something. So yeah, I would definitely feel insulted.
So is cannibalism's, I guess, high on that list as well when you say cannibalism? Like, can you watch horror movies of cannibalism, or is that just too visceral for you?
I can. I mean, for the most part, like there's certain ones where I can like deal with it. There's certain like I remember I think I was flipping around at one point and I stopped on like a Hostel movie, and like I saw a guy who was like strapped down on a bed pretty much, and some dude was literally just cutting off parts of his leg and then taking it over to like a fancy dining set and then eating parts of his leg like it's sashimi or whatever. And like that one was a big no. I was like immediately like, nope, like I can't do that one. But then there's certain things that I can kind of watch where it's like cannibalism. Like I never had a problem watching like zombie shows, or like that sort of stuff. But it's like it's weird. It's never like set in stone of like, it's just a blanket for all of this, because I'm fine with certain stuff. Like I've been trying to get over it by watching like the show called Attack on Titan.
Okay.
Which is just about like a group of like there's these giants out there. They break into these cities and they eat people. That's what they do. And like sometimes like I can watch it and it's like, yeah, it's totally fine. Like this ain't much. And then like there will just be one that's just like like giant, and they're all like none of them like really talk like or like seem to be like very sentient. So like they'll just pick up a person and then just have this big smile on their face as they devour someone as they're like screaming, to death. And that one, like I can watch a couple episodes and I'll get to one of those and I'm just like, I'm gonna put this down for a second. Like
a little overload, sensory overload there, a little bit on the.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch some time lapses of flowers opening for like the next 10 minutes just to kind of reset.
I love how you're actually proactively trying to get over it.
Yeah. I mean, a really important person in my life has like been really great about like never having something have power over you and kind of just putting yourself in a situation that maybe might be a little frightening or whatever, but you will get through it and, you can kind of like conquer those things. And like, some things you just can't conquer. Like I don't actually physically want to be eaten alive.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put
Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah. Like I'm not going to put myself in that, but it's like, yeah, I'll give a movie a shot or a show a shot or, stuff like that. But yeah, I think like there have been other fears that I've had in my life. And then it's like, I'll just kind of put myself in a situation where it's like, all right, just, just overcome it, like just do it. And then at the end of the day, you kind of find out like, it wasn't that bad. Or, like I used to be afraid of roller coasters for a long time. And then I got depression and I was like, this is fine.
I just went on a roller coaster depressed, like, wee.
Yeah, because like the biggest fear of like a roller coaster is like, I might fall off and die. But it's like, if you're already in like like what is death sort of mindset? It's just like, all right, well, I can't be afraid of a roller coaster. And then you actually have fun.
Yeah. My tip for that is just to sit in the back because like all the they got seat belts, they got all of these different things that clip you in.
Yeah.
And so I will always sit in the back because I used to be afraid of the roller coaster. And then my friends ride on Shockwave. Like my friend and his brother, like me, like three of us went to Six Flags together. And so I was like, all right, we're going to do this. And then here's the fun part of being afraid of roller coasters. You think you can do it, but the longer you have to wait to get on it, the more you regret the decision.
Yeah.
And on another side, so Mallory's kid's afraid of heights, and so she's like afraid of roller coasters and stuff that are way up. But like Mallory, I guess they told her like they went to the Judge Roy Scream, and she just saw the whip around like this. Oh, I can ride that. And then like it whipped around to this tall hill. It's just like and it just And of course, Mallory, being the concerned parent, just started laughing hysterically at her daughter because she's like now realizing, oh shit, this is way more than I thought it was.
Yeah, and that's always the worst part about it. It's like oh no, this was more than I was expecting. Like even watching someone like watching like Attack on Titan or something where it's like, oh no, I signed up for it, but I didn't know all the clauses that came with the contract.
Yeah. And that's what I was telling, with the roller coaster when I rode the Shockwave, I was like, okay, this at least turns a little bit, then goes down. It doesn't dip straight down because I used to ride the old Texas Giant and...
Oh, the rickety one?
Yes. Like what the Judge Roy Scream has now, because I had went, recently and I was like, oh, these are the old Texas Giant cars in the Judge Roy, because the Judge Roy just had a bar that literally just kind of... loosely held you in. If you slimmed up or anything, you could fall right out. But I hated that. And if you're a child
on it, you could slip right out of that thing.
Well, it just freaked me out because when you would get that up in the air from the second hill and you could feel yourself rising out of the seat. I hated that feeling because it's like, oh shit, like here we go, we're getting bucked out,
Yeah.
That was my big panic with roller coasters because I'm a small kid and I'm like just barely making the height requirements. So I was like, this shit's not for me. Like I can barely, like, just because fucking Goofy says I'm tall enough doesn't mean this thing's going to protect me.
Yeah, it's weird that we defer to Goofy's judgment on that.
Yeah. Yeah, we got these cartoon characters. They're like, no.
Yeah.
Like even fully grown, I don't feel like I'm like the ideal like size that they made these for, and so some of it like Mr. Freeze is the worst. Like if you are not a fan of roller coasters, I don't like it because it's immediately higher speed. It's like it just cannon fires you out and back. But
I was on the Mr. Freeze, like I want to say like this is definitely like 6 or 7 years ago, and like they had done this thing where they reversed it. So like like for whatever reason they like reversed the track, and it was like they just recently done it, and we were just in line, and the line was just so long because they did that. Like, you know, because it's like, oh, it's like a new ride, but it's just the same thing, just backwards. And so we were in the line for like maybe like 2 hours, but that roller coaster is so short of a time that like I got off the ride just being more upset that it was just over so quick.
Oh, come on, this is horseshit.
Yeah, it was just like I waited 2 hours for like 2 minutes. Like that's nothing. Like
I was listening to every sound so I could brace myself for that little boop boop. And it is like, here we go. And person I was with wasn't helpful. She was like, look how high we are. Like, no.
Oh God.
The worst is that Riddler thing where it just like the little swing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like you don't realize it's like it's not that bad, and all of a sudden it keeps getting higher. It's like, okay, this isn't cool anymore. It's like like it gets uncomfortable, and then it's like, okay, we're still going higher. How is this possible? Like, plus they have that fence like so close that it looks like at any point, like I know it's been measured, but it feels like it's so close to my feet.
Yeah. It's like someone with a degree made this. You know? Like, that's what I have to tell myself. It's like someone smarter than me made this, so I can't question it. Like
it's just like
unless it's like a action park situation. That's an insane story.
But yeah, that's another one that I kind of keep my eyes closed and stuff because it's like, okay, I've had enough. I'm done. I'm ready to get off. Let's go.
Yeah.
I get frustrated. I'm flustered. Like, can you not see? Like, we've had enough. Do you need to get an extra thing in?
Can't we go to the Child's Magic Show?
Yeah.
Starts at 3.
Yeah, I wrote that. Like, I'll never eat Six Flags food again, though. I threw up like on Titan. Like as we finished the Titan, like I would, and that was like,
oh my gosh. Oh man. Well, I mean, were you sitting in the back on this time?
Yeah, we were sitting in the back.
Okay.
As always, I'll sit in the back because I'm like, this is where all the buckles and the everything that holds you in is gonna be. Because it pulls you through. Like it's just literally like you don't, you know, the front of the roller coaster, you kind of crest the hill and you look down.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I have a lot of vertigo issues and stuff and dizziness. So with loops and stuff, I try to stay in the back because it pulls you through the loop rather than the front where you just kind of hang there for a second and.
Yeah, and almost black out. Like, like I've gotten like so much of like a head rush just like being like in the front or like middle.
Yeah.
Where it's just like you're just like kind of like blacking out for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, so the Shockwave, even though it's super short, but it's always fun for me. The new Texas Giant was a blast. Like it's so fast, and it's just like, oh, it was just so much. And it just jerks you like in the back, like you think it's over. Nope, another turn.
Yep.
So you conquer it. I admire your partner. So if you're intimate, if she bites your shoulder, does that like trigger like nope, no? And has she done that knowing?
I want to say yes, she has done that knowing. But to me, it's not a big enough like. Usually, like my mind's focused on other things, and I don't think I'm gonna die right then.
That's good, but But I just thought it was like, well, she bite someone just come up and bit your neck like you're just sitting on the couch.
Yeah. Well, like I think like I would have like she's an amazing cook, so I know I would have like some like kind of prep time, like because I know she would like season or marinate me or something, you know, like so I would kind of get a hint maybe, but I am also very like not the smartest bulb in the bunch. So it would probably take like, this like hot tub's really great. Wow, carrots and
so you're like bugging
cool.
Bugs Bunny in the fucking stew pot, just here, let me help you with those veggies.
Yeah, just having a soak, you know.
They always made that look so appetizing too. Like it's just carrots and.
I always just love that, like where they throw a whole animal into a soup. They didn't even like, you know, take off the fur or any of that stuff. They just threw it in a pot. Like obviously, it's a cartoon, but like,
yeah. And
like
see,
if Chuck Jones was a cannibal, the thing would be a little bit more graphic.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for doing this, Zach. It's been fun conversation. Where can people find you on social media if they want to check out your comedy and not eat you alive?
You can find me on all platforms under Zachary Webbery. So that's Zachary spelled the same and Webbery Webbery.
And that's because of a joke he has. And
yes, yeah. Where I say, you'll have to come and see the joke.
But yeah, check out Zachary on social media. He's a super fun comic. He's definitely on the path to being a big name here in the DFW area, if not bigger than around the country.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm working towards it.
Yeah, we all are, and in some ways, and it's just a fun journey and trying to enjoy the tidbits of validation with the hours of just disregard for what you do with every open mic.
Yep, because disregard is like a daily basis for sure. But the validation is, always helps me get through them.
Well, thanks again, Zach. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. It's been a blast.
So that was Zach. What an interesting and fun fear. I have some fears like that where that's just a visceral reaction. Like I have a hard time watching movies that kill off animals and stuff. That makes me like super anxious and emotional, and I don't want to watch those scenes. And so I usually will turn a movie off or not watch it if I know a scene like that is coming. You can check out Zach at Zachary Webbery on Instagram, as well as Zac Webb on Facebook. And check him out. Like, he is an amazing up-and-coming comic. He's really finding his legs as an MC. He's one of the stronger MCs in the scene here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he's just amazing creative when it comes to his comedy and writing. Like, he just comes up with things that just are really out of left field, but he makes them really funny. As for me, like I said, he hosted last night when I got a surprise call to work with Jared Freed. We had a great show, 2 shows. I met a lot of new people. Hopefully that translates to more listeners to the podcast. If you are a new listener, welcome to the show. I appreciate you guys. If you like what you hear, leave a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure to follow us if you are really a fan. That'd be awesome to have some people following. Join the Facebook group. Follow us on Instagram at Some Fear Fans and Twitter. I'm going to work at getting more, active in those accounts, maybe like to post every so often, as well as on my own. Like, I need to really promote and have fun and do some fun things. Also, I don't have any shows coming up that I can promote at this time, except for I will be in Wichita, Kansas at the beginning of the year, and also, then the next week I'll be at the Looney Bin in OKC. So if you're ever out of town, check me out there. I will hopefully be out there doing some great stand-up and meeting new people and maybe having new podcasts. Thanks again for listening to the Sum of All Fears podcast. Hope you guys have a great week. And now some thank yous for the folks that make this show possible. Thanks to Barry Whitewater for my art and graphics. You can follow him on Instagram at bwhiteh2o. Get it? H2O like water. You can also follow him on Facebook, Music. A huge thank you to Gunnar Olsen for the wonderful music provided for this podcast. You can follow him on Instagram at gunbuns, that's GUNBUNS, as well as his website, gunnarolsen.net. Check out some of the samples that he has recorded. They're amazing. He's an amazing percussionist. If you want to follow the show, we've got a Facebook group, Sum of All Fears. Instagram, Twitter, you can find us at Some Fear Fans. If you have some feedback for the show, email me at somefearfans, SOMEFEARFANS @gmail.com. I'll be happy to take those into consideration. Also, if you'd like to be a guest, email me at somefearfans@gmail.com. We can try to iron out some details and get that settled in. Give us some feedback. If on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, leave a review. It makes the show bigger, and it's not going anywhere. I'm going to record as many shows as I possibly can. If you want to follow me on social media, I am at Ryan Perio. It's RyanPerio on all social media platforms. You can follow me there, and you can check me out at ryanperio.com, my website. I'll try to list upcoming shows there as well. It's been kind of spotty because as soon as I set it up, that's when the pandemic happened, and everything's kind of just in a holding pattern. Thanks again for listening to the Sum of All Fears podcast. Next week, we'll have another guest with another fear. Thanks for listening.